Alrighty, SY Sports back with another college football video. Yes, I'm still alive. I just got very busy with school, and Madden did just come out, and I first hated it, but then I started playing it again, and I actually started really enjoying it. And it's the first time I've enjoyed a Madden game in several years, so I was kind of doing that most this weekend. Um, yeah, a lot of other things. So I kind of threw me away from this. Plus, I didn't really know how to go over these season prediction videos. I didn't know how I wanted to do them, but I'm gonna try it this way this year, and because I kind of like this format, but it kind of doesn't show like everything that I put into like my formulas and stuff. But it's kind of just a quicker way of showing what I think the teams are gonna do this coming season. So without further ado, we're gonna start with the Big Ten East this year. So I'm probably gonna go from bottom to top. So we'll save the better teams for last. Just that way with the worst records, I can kind of quickly just be like, yeah, this is why. I feel like I'm probably going to do that for most of these teams, but for now, I'm going to start from bottom and then go to the top. So we're going to go by division, and hopefully I can get all these out by week 0. I would like to get the Big Ten, ACC, and SEC, at least SEC East, done before week 0, so that way I can get them out before they actually play their games this weekend. So, but yeah, football's coming up, so gotta hurry up. Expect Wednesday. I'm gonna probably drop my season win total best bets, and then I want to say on Thursdays I'm gonna start dropping what I want to bet on for the weekend. But with week 1, I'm gonna probably drop most of it on Tuesday of that week because there's a lot of games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday through Monday. So yeah, let's get into it. Big Ten East predictions. So coming in at number 7, I have Rutgers. Let's take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look at their schedule real quick. Now, if you look at their schedule, it looks pretty brutal just because of who they have on their roster. But so I think worst case scenario for them would be 2-10, and that's just beating Wagner and Temple on and then losing the rest. But I think best case scenario is they go 6-6. I think Greg Schiano is a good enough coach that they could, if he gets like the full potential of this team, they go 6-6. However, I just don't see that happening. I think they lose to Boston College week 1. Their over/under is set to 4, both sides being -115. But my numbers have Rutgers. My computer formula that I do has Rutgers actually going 3-9 and with 1 Big Ten win. So I see they'll lose to Boston College, but then beat Wagner and Temple, and then I think their automatic losses would probably be Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State. So I think they can get a sneaky win against Iowa, Nebraska, at Minnesota. I think Indiana's their best chance, but I think they can get at Minnesota and then at Maryland. So I have Rutgers going 3-9, 1-8 in the Big Ten. All right, coming in 6th place in the Big Ten East, I have Indiana. I think best case scenario is 6-6. Worst case scenario for them this year is 4-8. They have an over and under of 4, over being -120 and under being -110. Let's take a look at their schedule. So looking at their schedule, you can see it's kind of rough just because they have to go to Cincinnati this year, non-conference. But Cincinnati lost everybody, so they might not be as good. But I still think they're more talented than Indiana. You obviously got to play in the East Division, so you got to go through Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State. But my prediction for Indiana this year is 5-7 and 2-7 in the Big Ten. And if I were to bet on Indiana this year, I would take the over. Coming in 5th place in the Big Ten is Maryland. I see Maryland best case scenario if Talia turns out to be the real deal. I see best case is 9-3. However, their coach is god awful, and I just don't see that happening. I think worst case scenario is 3-9. And now their over under is at 6 games, over -105, under -125. But I predict Maryland to kind of split that gap of 9-3 and 3-9 and going 6-6. And if I were to bet on them, I would take the under. So Maryland at 6-6. Coming in 4th place in the Big Ten East, I have Michigan State. Now, Michigan State's one of those teams that I can never predict right because they don't have talent, but they somehow just proven over since 2008 is just to destroy every season win total that they've had. So I don't really know what to think of them. So let's take a look at their schedule. Now, looking at the schedule, I see best case scenario 10-2, worst case scenario is 5-7. That's just if everything falls apart. But knowing Michigan State, I just don't see that happening. I think personally, worst is 7-5. Now, when I go through the best and worst cases, it's from my computer formula. So, but I think personally, their worst case is a bowl game at 7-5. Now their over/under is 7.5. Over -125. Under -105. My computer's predicting MSU to go 8-4 and 5-4 in the Big Ten. And if I were to bet on this, I would probably take the over. I think they win their two non-cons. That Washington game on the road is tricky because Michigan State should win that game, but however, the Big Ten's been terrible. Has always been terrible out west on the road, so I could see them losing that one. Maybe they beat Ohio State. Maybe they do beat Michigan this year and beat them 3 years in a row now. I mean, I could see them beating Penn State. There's just so many weird scenarios for Michigan State, but I've decided to finish with 8-4 and 5-4 in the Big Ten. Coming in third place, I have Penn State. Penn State is another one of those weird teams where you don't know what to expect. I mean, they have the potential to run the table, and they have the potential to go 7-5, 6-6, like they did last year. There's just so many weird things. Let's take a look at their schedule. At Purdue, obviously a tricky road game to start the season. However, everyone's picking Purdue to upset Penn State, so I think Penn State's going to win this game. I see best case scenario looking at the schedule is 10-2. Worst case scenario is 7-5, just like injury problems like they had last year. I think Sean Clifford's a good quarterback. I think this team's gonna be gonna be pretty good, but I don't think it's gonna be like sneaky Big Ten East win the conference good. Their over under set at 8.5, -105 to the over, -125 to the under. I have Penn State going 9-3 and 6-3 in the Big Ten. And if I were to bet on Penn State this year, I would take the over. Coming in at number 2, I have Michigan. Let's take a look at their schedule. I see best case scenario with this schedule is 11-1. Worst case scenario is 8-4. Their over/under is set at 9.5. So the over is -140 and the under is +110. So that means they're more than likely to go 10-2 than they are to go 9-3. However, Michigan is disappointed being ranked high before, and I don't see what would change that. However, I do have Michigan hitting the over at 10-2 and 7-2 in the Big Ten. I think this schedule is just they got real lucky with this schedule. Since pulling out from UCLA, they have basically a runway to the Big Ten season kickoff against Maryland. They go on the road to Iowa, which everyone's picking Iowa to win that game. However, since everyone's picking that game, I got a feeling Michigan's got that game circled, and I don't think they lose that game. However, I think I could see them losing to Maryland right before that because of where it's at, and everyone's just kind of pushing that for Michigan to blow them out. I just think Maryland's going to have a good offense, and it can give Michigan some problems. You obviously got at Indiana. They've given Michigan problems. However, Indiana has one win since like 1987, and that was the COVID year. Now, the worst case for Michigan, I mean, like the toughest games for Michigan, I think would be Penn State, Michigan State, and at Ohio State. And I'm going to throw in Nebraska in there for now because they have the potential to be really, really good, but Scott Frost hasn't proven to be that, but maybe they will this year with everything going on. So Michigan 10-2, 7-2 in the Big Ten. Now, obviously, everyone's favorite. Everyone's picking them. It's hard to not pick them. Coming in at number 1 is Ohio State. Ohio State, my numbers say best case scenario 12-0, worst case scenario 12-0. I mean, my numbers are really, really high in Ohio State. The over/under set at 11, -140 to the over, +110 to the under. However, I don't like picking teams to run the table, so I did put Ohio State to go 11-1. Now I didn't predict what they do in the conference because I think they could either lose to Notre Dame or they could lose to one team in the conference. I just think they're going to slip up somewhere. Usually every team does. There's usually only one or two teams that will run the table, and it's never really the team that you would predict to run the table except Alabama, because Alabama is just on another level than everybody else. But so I have Ohio State 11-1 this year. I don't really see them losing to Michigan this year because Michigan hasn't won there since like 2000. However, they did lose to them last year, and Michigan seems to actually care for that game now, so maybe Michigan can pull it off. However, like I said, I don't really see it. At Penn State's probably their toughest game. However, Penn State's only win against Ohio State was a blocked punt. Like I said, Notre Dame maybe, but Marcus Freeman, can you really trust them? I think their biggest one would be at Michigan State. However, they've always come away. It seems like every time they play in Spartan Stadium, it's a close game, but Ohio State always seems to come out at the end. So I think their best chance of losing is at Michigan State or at Penn State. So that's my Big Ten East predictions for the 2022 college football season. Ohio State 11-1 coming in first, Michigan 10-2 coming in second, Penn State 9-3, Michigan State 8-4, Maryland 6-6, Indiana 5-7, and Rutgers 3-9. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, comment down below what you think, what your predictions are for the season for the Big Ten East, and I hope to see you in the next one. See ya.